So in this video we are going to be continuing to take a look at a scenario where civilization starts over. We are now on episode 60 of the series, and in the last episode we saw the peace treaty of the Third World War, as well as a few events of the start of this brand new era. We didn't focus that much on that, we mostly did focus on the peace treaty. But yeah, we are now in the post-World War III era. This map is looking a lot different to how it did a few episodes ago. So if you guys do end up enjoying this episode, please be sure to like and subscribe. We are in episode 60 of the series, which is a pretty big number. I'm surprised how quickly we've gotten here. But anyway, let's go ahead and get straight into the video. So the very first thing in this video, I just want to talk about something that I actually forgot to in the peace treaty. This economical alliance is actually not allowed to exist. Egypt banned it in the peace treaty, but a few of these countries over here said that they wanted to remain a part of it. Egypt then stated that if these countries did not disband the alliance, then they would be kicked out of the CN, which they were. And that is just something I wanted to mention. But anyway, now we can actually get into the border changes of the video. So just if anyone does want a time check, we're still in the year 2000. It's been a few years since World War III ended. And yeah, not many events have happened, but we will actually now be seeing the first event happen, and that is actually going to be a war. And it's going to be over here in Western Africa. So this economical alliance is a kind of democratic movement as well. It's not just an economical alliance. It's basically the democratic countries over here trying to get rid of the dictatorships. And this is kind of like a side thing. This isn't really supported by the economical alliance. However, the country that will be invading another country is receiving support from the economical alliance. And that country is the blue Burkina Faso sort of country over here. These guys are in the West African Economical Alliance, and they don't like how there's a dictatorship on their border, so they are going to go ahead and gather some support and funding from their allies, and they're going to be launching an invasion into this country. They quickly cross the border, and yeah, this country, you can probably just tell by the amount of major cities, this country is a lot weaker than the blue team. So we have the blue team managing to do extremely well in entering this country. They move down over here and capture this one major city, and after this they just spread around their front lines. They mostly focus on the southern areas, as the northern area is more of the desert. And they are able to encircle quite a lot of the red team's forces right over here, and they are then all proceeded to be captured. After this we see the blue team begin to head over towards the capital. And at this point, we're going to be seeing another country join in on the war, and that country is Morocco. Now, while Morocco wasn't directly involved, they kind of just want to help out their ally over here, so they're going to go ahead and launch an invasion in. Now, this country was already struggling just fighting the blue team, but Morocco on top of that, yeah, they're cooked. They lose their capital within a month of Morocco joining the war, and we also have this country then being split in two by Morocco and Burkina Faso then meeting up. And shortly after this, the red team is going to go ahead and surrender, and we can take a look at this peace treaty. So in this peace treaty here, we see a few things happen. First of all, the blue team is going to take this very large chunk of land in the northern red team. This basically doubles their size, or halves the size of the red team rather. And secondly, we see a new democratic government be set up in the red team, just like so. But next up, we need to move over to North America, because this alliance is going to be on the move. These guys were successful at defeating a lot of members in the Square Alliance in World War III, and they are still wanting to spread their influence. Taking a look at the ideologies layer, we can see that they are the only fascist countries in North America, and they kind of feel like outsiders, and they want to change that. So they are going to be collectively going after a country, and the country they're going after is actually a country that used to be part of one of their members. It's going to be the blue Arizona sort of country up here. I believe this is Arizona. This country used to be part of the yellow team, but they broke away as these guys were more left-leaning of a region, whereas the main government was very far right-leaning. So we're going to see these guys get invaded. We have the yellow Mexicans quickly moving in. They are able to capture this major city right over here. Furthermore, we also have the Texans join the war, as they have ambitions to gain some of this northern land, and these guys do pretty well. Now, this country is a very weak country, so obviously they're not going to last that long. But yeah, we have these guys continuing to move up, now taking all of the waters around the Californian Sea. And they also begin to move around the front line that Texas also has, of which they are now crossing the border fully, and moving into the core areas of the blue team. Moving back down to the Mexican front lines, these guys are still on a roll. The blue team is really not able to hold these guys back, and eventually we have the capital being captured by the Mexican forces, and the rest of the country is going to fall over to Texas, And just like that, we can go ahead and take a look at this peace treaty. And in this peace treaty, well, let's just say the blue team isn't going to be very happy, as we have the Texans taking this land up north, and yeah, the rest of the country just gets swallowed by the Mexican country. And I did just change up the treaty a bit, so Texas gets the same amount of land, and the Mexicans are going to go ahead and take this portion of land. But up north, we actually see this light blue country go ahead and purchase some of this land, and that is because there is a resource deposit in this area that the blue team wants a little bit more of, and they offer to buy this land off the Mexicans for a pretty good price, and the Mexicans go ahead and accept that. So that is why we see them go ahead and gain some land right there. But yeah, that blue country is gone, goodbye. And yeah, the fascists go ahead and expand their influence. But next up, we need to move over to Southern Africa, because a little bit of a dispute is going to be taking place here. So, taking a look at this region right over here, we have two new countries that we can see were formed in the World War III Treaty, the Madagascar country and the Malawi country. Now, these two guys have a little bit of an issue. So, at the end of the war, these islands over here were occupied by the forces of the purple country, and the blue team was a direct split off of the purple team that was forced away in the peace treaty. And during the end of the war, these guys still had their forces on these islands, and well, they just never left. So the blue team technically claims these islands as theirs, however officially Madagascar owns them. So what we have happening is the blue team is basically going to pull out a direct invasion of these islands. They do still have their assets here, however now they go ahead and move across their navy and officially claim these islands as theirs. The Madagascar country is not going to be so happy as this. They directly state the article of the World War III treaty that says that they have these islands. And we have the Madagascar forces go ahead and bombard these islands and launch an invasion of them. And at this point, the blue team is going to declare full-on war on Madagascar, basically saying these islands are ours and you're unjustly invading them. So what we have happening is we have the first couple of naval battles take place as we have the blue team start to move their navy towards the islands. The blue team's navy is pretty decent. Madagascar doesn't really have a good navy at this point. But the blue team kind of has an established navy. This is kind of some of the navy of the green and purple teams, so they're able to do a little bit better in the waters. And they go ahead and fully move around the islands, and they go ahead and launch their second invasion in. At this point, the Council of Nations, and more specifically Egypt, is going to start to take a look at this situation, and they are a little bit concerned about this. There are two countries that were just released, and they're already fighting each other. So what we have happening is we have Egypt offering to call a peace conference for these two countries to settle a solution to this dispute. Madagascar is all for that because they believe that they have a good claim for these islands. However, we have the blue team rejecting the deal, and they just continue the war. And the Council of Nations is not too happy about that, because these guys are not trying to look to find a peaceful solution. So what we have happening is we have Egypt forcefully demanding that these guys exit the islands and return back to the naval waters. But we actually have the blue team rejecting the deal. Furthermore, we have the blue team start to do some bombing runs on northern Madagascar, and this starts to become a decently large humanitarian issue, as the blue team is bombing a lot of civilian targets in the Madagascar country. So at this point, Egypt is going to be putting their foot down, and they are going to be moving their navy down to the northern regions of this front. So we have the Egyptian navy coming to a standstill on the territorial boundary waters of the blue team, and Egypt states that if the blue team does not retreat their navy and their forces from the islands, Egypt will be launching an invasion in. And the blue team is, well, they're not going to take it so kindly, and we actually have one division of the navy of the blue team actually fire on the Egyptian ships after they mistakenly believe that a fighting situation has already broken out between the two navies, and this leads to a full-on naval skirmish, and at this point Egypt is going to go ahead and declare war on Malawi. So we have the Egyptian navy, who was already stationed here, begin to move in, and they begin to approach the islands, which is their main target, and they claim this to be a liberation campaign, and they claim that they are doing this to solve the regional dispute. And we have Egypt bombarding the forces on these islands of Malawi, and shortly after we see them make a landing. At this point, Egypt is going to say, hey, you need to leave the war or we will invade you on your mainland. However, this country is going to be suggesting that Egypt is not being fair here. They are saying that this is not a good way to handle the situation. They claim that this was never voted on in the CN, that Egypt should be allowed to intervene, and they claim that they have a good claim over these islands. So they call for a Council of Nations vote to determine the outcome of this little skirmish over here. As they are a member of the Council of Nations, they can do that. And after a little bit of voting time, we have the Assembly Council Nation members. They vote that these islands should be part of Madagascar. They show the World War III treaty, where it basically claims that these islands were given to Madagascar in the treaty. And then the vote goes to the leading CN members, and they also vote in the intervention of this conflict in order to grant the islands to Madagascar. So, yeah, joke's on you, Malawi, that didn't work out too well. And at this point, the Malawi country is going to back down, and they will be granting these islands back over to Madagascar, now fully losing their claim over the region, and they also have to pay some reparations over to the Madagascar country. Next up, we have to look at the alliances layer, and more specifically the economical alliances layer, because we have the Asian Economical Alliance actually adding a couple of members. Some of these countries were just released from World War III, and due to the kind of second Great Depression we're seeing at the moment, a lot of these countries do want help in, fixing up their economies, and they will be joining in on the Asian Economical Alliance. And these two countries are the Shandong country over here, and the Lime Southern Japanese country. These guys are already, in terms of, well, ethnicity and religion, they are already aligned to China, so that gives them a little bit more of the reason to do so. So yeah, just like that, this alliance expands further. Now, not straying too far away from the alliances layer, we will actually be seeing an alliance break up, and that alliance is actually going to be the Balkan Pact. Now, this alliance was created, I believe, before World War II, and it was at the time where these guys were much weaker to their neighbours, and they felt very threatened by the countries that surrounded them. However, at this point, Europe has become a much more peaceful and united place. There isn't too much reason for a military alliance, and we actually eventually do start to see some fallouts in terms of diplomatic relations between Carpathia and Illyria. These two guys have a lot of different ideals for what this alliance should do, and the future of this alliance. And that eventually leads to these two guys just straight up leaving it. And yeah, with Serbia being in the alliance on their own, the alliance is officially disbanded. So yeah, one less military alliance there. Next up, we're actually going to be moving over to Central Asia, and that is because we're going to be seeing a war take place over here. And this war is probably one that is kind of long overdue, and I'm calling it a war, but it's more so an invasion, as we are going to be seeing the pink team launch an attack on the yellow country. The yellow country has been here for quite a while. They were decently big when they were first released from Neo Baikal back in, I believe, episode 27. However, in the more recent times, they have become very weak, mostly due to these guys. But yeah, we will be seeing the pink team launch an invasion in. They kind of view this as free land. And yeah, it's extremely easy for these guys to invade in. The yellow team is very weak. And yeah, the pink team, well, while the pink team isn't the strongest of countries, they're much stronger than these guys. So yeah, not too hard of an invasion for them. But yeah, eventually we see the pink country be able to fully take over the yellow team, and we can now go ahead and take a look at this peace treaty. And in this peace treaty, of course, we see the pink team fully annex the yellow country. Now, I don't know if I'm too big of a fan of these new pink team borders, but yeah, that is what they will look like now. But next up, we actually have to talk about some stuff on the nuclear bombs layer. Now, at this point, the world is suffering from the effects of radiation. Now, while it has died down, it's obviously nowhere near as bad as it was before. It's had a little bit of time to kind of go away. Yeah, a very big portion of the world is anti-nuclear, and these countries that do have their own nukes start to get a little bit under pressure to abolish their nukes. Now, none of them will at the moment, but I just want to emphasize that the world is definitely becoming a more anti-nuclear place. These bombs are seen as kind of really bad. It's seen as like a really bad humanitarian thing to have these bombs, and of course using them is even worse. But a lot of the world starts to call for the end of nukes, so we'll have to see if that leads to anything in the future. And I think for the final event in this video, because I have got a lot of stuff done in this video, I don't want to just ram pack it too full of stuff, But we are going to be moving over here to the Gold Coast because the Nigerians are going to be invading the Red Country. This red country is pretty good in terms of kind of living area, and after losing, well, they gained back a lot, but they still have lost this land and the rest of this province to the blue team. They just want some land back, so they're going to go ahead and invade into the red team, and yeah, these guys are quickly going to fall. And in the peace treaty, these guys are going to be fully annexed by the Nigerian country. And yeah, these guys are pretty happy with the result of this. They once again gain back a little bit of their strength and some land. But I think that is going to be it for this episode. I really hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, please be sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one.